Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Comic Source Podcast. I'm your host, Jace. We have a returning comic creator today to talk about a new project. One of my favorite creators, Kyle Higgins, writer extraordinaire. Kyle, it's good to see you, man.
You too, man. How's everything going?
Great. And as just in the interest of full disclosure, everybody, right as we're about to record this, it just got announced. Issue 5 of Radiant Black just sold out.
Oh, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That means every issue so far has sold out of the series, right? First print.
Actually, I think every printing of every issue is sold out.
Wow.
I think. I'm not sure, actually. Maybe the third printings, maybe there might still be some third printings available because we haven't done a fourth. So maybe, okay, so I'm wrong then. Yeah, at least the first printing of every issue has sold out, and 3 of our issues have gone for third printings. And I'm starting to run out of stuff to put on the third printing covers. So retailers, order higher.
Right, exactly.
But no, it's fun and you know, it's a nice little bit of kind of press bump when something like that happens. It's always really tricky because as a publisher and especially as a creator, I can speak as a creator, I'll say that. The worst thing in the world is dead stock that sits at Diamond and that you're paying, because then and by I mean the creative team, we are paying for, storage fees and stuff like that. So it always is this like really tricky, fine little needle to thread where it's like, how much to overprint, things like that, getting stuck with, again, dead stock. But then also retailers are in the similar situation where they're trying to thread like the world's tiniest needle every month. And so they're like, well, how much did we sell last month? How much do we think we can sell? How many are still on the stands? So the funny thing about, like, especially on an issue 1, selling out, you would think like on the morning of release, like if your book is sold out, like that's a great thing. It's actually not, because then it's not on the stands for anybody else to find for the rest of New Comic Book Day, Yeah. So it's like it's like a it's like a weird balancing act of factors that you're always kind of weighing, and every book goes through this and every publisher goes through this.
Yeah, and it's especially when, like you said, it's creator-owned, the logistics kind of fall on you as opposed to a big, one of the big 2, they have a little more, kind of resources behind them. It's not as big of a deal. But I will say that creatively, it has to be very satisfying to know that, obviously new people are constantly discovering Radiant Black, and that's great.
Yeah, that part's a lot of fun. I mean, there's a Discord server now that the gentleman who they actually run a Radiant Black podcast. They set up this Discord server, and I just happened to tweet out, somebody should do a Discord, and it turned out there actually was one, and so seeing like what the community has kind of grown over even just a few days into is that's pretty neat. It's I've never had a book like that before, especially a creator-owned book. I'll tell you probably the thing that I am the most proud of and the thing that gives me the most kind of, I guess, pride. And I don't want to say like joy or happiness because that's not what it does. But this is the first time I've had books launch really well in the past, but never a creator-owned.
Right.
Cowl launched the best of my creator-owned stuff, and the other ones didn't launch poorly or anything, but to do the kind of numbers that we did on Radiant Black in the past, my other launches that have done that well are Nightwing for the New 52 and Power Rangers. And in both cases, there's some truth to this, but there's also some perception. The books weren't launching because of the creative teams.
Right.
So, I've had, people have, at Nightwing, I was a brand new writer. Eddie Barrows was a really exciting artist for that series, especially for that launch. And so that certainly helps, it's also part of the New 52 wave. And everything launched really well.
Right.
And then Power Rangers, it's the first Power Ranger comic. in the way that we decided to do it in forever. Honestly, it was the first one ever.
Right.
And so, I've publishers have kind of said things behind the scenes over the years about like, well, it's Power Rangers, like,
Right.
and just don't take it seriously, but also use the fact that it's an existing IP to explain it launching really well. And with Radiant Black, can't really do that, like it's ours. It's all original. Like, yes, we have some aesthetic influences that we're riffing on and some archetypes that we're riffing on and then looking to subvert and take some really, really big swings with it. And the fact that all the little things that we've been planning are not only bearing fruit, but people are really into them and the numbers are as high as they are, is a really, really rewarding feeling.
Yeah. And
yeah.
For myself, having known you for so long and seeing this success and this community spring up around the comic, I like it when good things happen to good people. So everybody, Kyle mentioned the Discord. I'll put a link in the show notes. So if you want to go and join, it's a really cool community. Everybody's really excited. There's different channels. You can talk about theory. You can go spoiler. So I'll put a link. Everybody, I encourage you to go check it out.
And a bunch of us pop in. Marcelo, Eduardo, myself, Michael. I don't know if Becca's come in yet. Igor Monti, who's going to be doing some coloring going forward. Everybody kind of pops in, and so it's fun. And like you just said, Jace, like everyone's just super chill, and that's the thing. Like when I wrote the letters column for issue 1, I meant what I said, which was that I wanted to try to foster community, but I wasn't intending something like this. Like
right.
I meant through the letters column and through all the cool ancillary stuff we're doing and amongst other creators, because I want to use the back matter as a space to showcase other creators that I'm excited about and other projects and also just really cool other medium type pieces. We have some articles coming up that are going to be more kind of detailed history explorations of the genre, both American comics as well as tokusatsu, and where some of the overlap comes from, things like that. I mean, the panel by panel issue that came out in March that Hassan runs, like that was, we all were just blown away, like on the creative team when that came out. I was like, it was so thorough and just, again, all those little things that we're planning just for us because they make us smile.
Right.
People are catching them, and that's as a former musician, like when you sit in that, when you feel that rhythm section and you're just all sitting in that pocket together, like it's like they're feeling what you're doing and you're feeling what they're doing. Like it's a great, like that's when you're really in sync. So it's, hopefully we don't screw it up here or anything.
Well, that's the thing about, like, you yourself said you didn't necessarily, you wanted a community, but I mean, you say that it's like lightning in a bottle. It's not something you can plan on or the way it's going to grow organically. And hopefully we'll get something similar with the project we're here to talk about today, which is Ordinary Gods. So why don't you let everybody know kind of what the elevator pitch is?
Sure.
Ordinary Gods launches everybody July 7th from Image.
Yeah, it launches July 7th. We've got a really fun trailer that maybe we can throw up or you can put in the show notes. But it's a series that has been in the works for a very long time. It's an idea I had many years ago and have worked on it, I don't want to say over 10 years, but pretty darn close, to find the best version of it. The best way to pitch it is it's something of a cross between things like The Matrix and Highlander, and it involves these immortal warriors, these essentially immortals. They're called gods just for the ease of parlance, but they are from a realm beyond our own, and there are 13 of them, and each one kind of has a territory or fiefdom within this overall realm that the one king kind of rules down on. But each realm has a connection to what we think of as like a human emotion. So there's the realm of savagery and strength and guilt and regret. Our neighbors over this waterfall. Like it's all kind of it's very large. But what our series is actually about is this central problem that plagued these immortals for hundreds of thousands of years, because they ultimately went to war with each other, and 5 of them leading this kind of rebellion. The leader, the luminary, the prodigy, the brute, the trickster, the genius, or the innovator, I think we call him. And the problem is, how do you make any semblance of progress in a rebellion when the big immortal that you kill can be brought back because they're immortal?
Right.
And so the cycle of life, death, and rebirth just perpetuates this war for even longer. And that's when the innovator has this idea, which is, rather than killing the immortals, perhaps there's a way to imprison them. And they create a machine that basically is looking to bind the essences, the souls of these immortals to a barren planet. And that planet is what becomes Earth. And so now these 5 immortals, because the machine is used against them, their own machine is used against them before they can use it in a war, they are now bound to Earth, and life starts as a result. So if Earth is the prison, life is the prison cells. So these 5 have reincarnated throughout, hundreds of years, thousands of years on Earth, and have been different, sometimes prominent people. If you take a look at the territories I laid out there, the leader, the prodigy, the brute, the trickster, the genius, like, those are all archetypes that, in one way or another, you could say we are all a little bit derived from. So there's a lot going on. The main character is 22-year-old Christopher, who, I don't want to spoil too much. It's a big, oversized first issue, but basically, to have any hope of saving the world, he has to become a god again.
Yeah, and I did get a chance to check out the first issue, and
You did? Okay.
I have goosebumps hearing you talk about it. It was absolutely amazing. And maybe you can speak to this on the long development time with so many big ideas and having this oversized issue, and it's in scope, it's just massive, and you can do so much. Mentioning them reincarnating over time, it's possible we could see they were famous people or people that, Abraham Lincoln is on the cover, so that gets me thinking. But the other thing that you do in explaining this scope really well in the first issue, there's no lack of action, or it's not like it's all exposition. Hey, here's the world. Like, you give us plenty of narrative, and there's great story beats, and there's great characterization. How tough was that? Was that why it took so long to really nail this and have it come out?
Yeah, I mean, it's for that reason. There is that challenge, certainly, but there is also, I mean, that's part of why the first issue is 40 pages. And not for any more money, by the way, but it's a big, oversized first issue. And it's because I felt strongly that in order to talk about the book in the press, I needed to be able to talk about what's in issue 1. And like, the concept alone, you have to both teach readers and cement it so that you can subvert it potentially by issue 2 or 3, or maybe even the end of 1. You'll have to read to find out. But the other challenge was finding the right creative partners. And Filipe Watanabe is an artist that Eduardo Ferragato had introduced me to, or turned me on to, a couple years ago now. And Felipe has this big blockbuster widescreen style that definitely has some shades of people like Jerome Pena, and I'd say even like Lionel Francis Yu. And so then building it to Felipe's kind of aesthetic and his strengths as well has been an absolute blast. Frank Williams coloring. Frank hasn't done a ton of U.S. books, so I think people are going to be pretty impressed when they see his work here. And then my old letterer Clayton Cowles is handling all things lettering on this one, and of course Michael Mr. Wizard Basudel is both handling our design and editing the series. So we're up through quite a few issues at this point. So it's exciting for it to finally, after all this time, actually come out.
Yeah, I can't. Whenever you have a book launching, I'm always so excited for you because I love to see people's reaction. And Felipe wasn't able to join us today. We wanted him to, but I did send him a couple questions, everybody. And one of the things I did ask Felipe was about coming on the book, and he mentioned you mentioned it to him way back in 2018, and it sounds like he was so excited by the idea he was on board right away. Is that how you remember it as well?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we've been talking about it and working on it behind the scenes for quite a long time. And then with COVID last year, we kind of put it on pause so everyone could focus on things that were going to be more immediate future. For me, that was Radiant Black, and for Felipe, that was some work that he had. I believe in Brazil is where he lives. And so I don't remember the question. What was the question? Yes, he said yes immediately.
He said yes immediately. There you go. The other thing I asked him was about establishing the tone. And he said that you guys are even still working on that now, and it's a bit of a challenge because the story is so big and you do have the opportunity to move through time. So I wonder, you talk about taking big swings with your creator-owned stuff. I've heard you say it's several times you feel, obligated to put something different out there, and you use the word subvert as well, which is what you're doing in Radiant Black. That's so great. Without spoiling, can we kind of expect those kind of levels of subversion, but maybe in a different way? I mean, this is in tone. It feels so different than Radiant Black, but yet they both are huge in scope.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know. I'm too close to it. Like, I think so. I know, like, we're working on issues like 7 through 12 right now. So what the book becomes is quite a bit different than what the book starts as, in some ways. So to me, the status quo feels exciting, but I also have to always remember where issue 1 starts. So hopefully it does that for people as well. Like I said, there's definitely some archetypal stuff that we're riffing on purpose. Yeah, I guess ask me again after issue 1 comes out.
Yeah, maybe. A few issues are out there, and
I guess the other big thing I want to say about it is that we have a pretty amazing collection of covers. Sorry, my cat. I'm actually gonna have to go in a second. He's actually a little worried about him, so I got to get him to the vet. Yeah, we have this amazing collection of retailer covers. The main book, the actual main series you buy only has 1 cover, but we have a lot, like 16 retailer exclusive covers, and 7 of those are actually kind of partnerships that we've done with different stores. And each one of their covers is one of the characters that was illustrated for the main cover that's right behind your head right now, Jace. And so the main cover is actually a jam piece of some of my favorite artists and friends, Dan Panosian and Tula Lotte, Rod Reese, Felipe, Dave Johnson, Nicholas Scott, and Declan Shalvey, and then Matt Williams colored the whole thing. So for these retailer covers, we're going to do each, because that's a full character illustration that is, composited together here.
Right.
So we're going to do the solo characters as 7 standalone covers as well. And so we're actually Michael's going to put together a website resource so that we'll have links to make it easier, hopefully, to collect all 7.
Oh,
if that's your sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That'd be awesome to have that.
But these are all lives that Christopher has perhaps had some sort of association with.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of going back to what Felipe said, and what has him so excited about the project. He mentioned just having the different situations and moments in history, and being able to explore that, and how much of that idea and scope of moving around, how much of that played into the design of Christopher himself and the way these gods look. I mean, it's
sorry. Can you say that one more time? Can you ask that one more time?
Yeah, as far as Felipe is really excited about going through different parts of the history and exploring different things. And when I asked him about character design, he said there was a couple back and forth, and then you guys just nailed it, because it really is, and you see it in the first issue, the scenes where you're seeing the immortals versus when you're seeing Christopher and his family, it's a little bit of a different aesthetic, and I think Felipe really nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like an artist, there are some artists who do really well with fantasy, but not so much with the world outside your window. And vice versa. There are a lot of artists that can do world outside your window, but aren't necessarily great with fantasy. And then on top of that, finding an artist who can not only do both, but can handle incredibly dynamic, like make all of that really dynamic. That's really, really tough to find. So yeah, I totally agree with Felipe. Like it clicked pretty early. And, you know, and then I very much pride myself on writing to what I think the strengths of, or at least the interests of an artist are. And so that definitely Felipe's interests for sure shape where the story, certain things that we focus on in the story. This is a collaboration after all, but also the design aesthetic. You know, there are a couple different ways you could go with Future Realms, you know, you could, or other realms. And we have a little bit of a kind of, you know, sword and sandals kind of interpretation, but intermixed with that is a little bit more sci-fi, particularly some of the machines. And, you know, there's some Dune kind of influence there, but, you know, show me a sci-fi series that wasn't influenced by Dune.
Right.
So it is a little bit kind of sword and sandals through kind of a little bit of a Dune lens. And that's just that realm. What Earth is and all of the different generations of history. I mean, issue 2 deals with some stuff in like 1917, as well as modern day, as well as some, I believe, some 1800s Japan. So we're kind of all over the place, and that's what's fun. It's a lot of research, but it's I'm a big believer in living up to the promise of your premise, and that's the other reason it took so long. It's a really big premise.
Yeah, that's fair. And one of the things I love about it is you're pulling from all these different influences, but you're also not falling into those trope. I think the idea of having each god's realm be named for, you know, emotion or kind of personality traits, cunning, envy, inspiration, love. I mean, that's brilliant. And I can't wait to learn more about that. I mean, just a fantastic idea. I'm surprised nobody's ever done it before. At least I've never heard of anybody doing it before.
Well, on the one hand, it's like, it's a little on the nose, certainly. But on the other hand, we very much exist in this kind of meta-modernist society now. I was just talking to Matt Groom about this last night and a few others, Michael and such, and just talking about, you know, moving on beyond postmodernism and kind of where we are now. And it's like everything can matter. You can kind of do anything. Like I'm using thought bubbles again in Radiant Black, you know.
Yeah.
So naming things and stripping them down to the metal and what they are and just being that direct. I mean, that's very in vogue right now with design. But it's also, I think it can apply to world building in a way that, you know, might have been a little too direct in the past, but now is kind of like, for me anyway, it sits a little better for some reason. Maybe it's just because I finally feel like I've seen and read kind of everything, you know, like, yeah. I'm sure I haven't, of course, but you do feel like you're constantly, as a writer as well, you're constantly like, okay, all right, well, how do we break that then? You know?
Right. Yeah. I feel the same way. You know, having read comics for 40 years, you know, I read something and I know it may not, the writer may not have read what it's reminding me of, but sometimes things just feel so derivative, you know, it's just a product of living. So,
totally.
Well, anyway, Kyle, you're so busy, so I really appreciate the time. Again, congratulations on the success of Radiant Black. Hoping for the same with Ordinary Gods, everybody. You want to get a first print, everybody, right? You want that first print. Tell your retailer now that you want Ordinary Gods, set aside a copy for you because you don't want to miss out. I know, you know, we were talking about how these Radiant Black issues have sold out. So let your retailer know. It's the best thing you can do to help them thread that needle, like Kyle said. So as we're winding up here, Kyle, any last thoughts to share? And why don't you remind everybody where they can find you online?
No, I think that's everything, man. I mean, I'm stretched unbelievably thin at the moment, so I'm sure there's other stuff going on, but I'm kind of only, I have blinders on to. I think I have 25 emails from during the time of us recording right now, and I got to get, oh, come on, buddy. I got to get my cat to the vet. So social media, best way, I guess, Kyle D. Higgins. And then beyond that, I'm popping in the Discord once in a while for Radiant Black. But yeah, at Kyle D. Higgins. And also we have a newsletter called Black Market News. And so that you can find through, actually the easiest way to sign up is just radiant.black/newsletter, and you can sign up there. I haven't put one out. It's been a little longer than I wanted or intended, but hopefully the next few days I'll get something out.
Great. And again, everybody, I'll put links to the Discord, the newsletter, and Kyle's social media in the show notes, and the trailer as well for Ordinary Gods. So you can go and check all that out. So I want to thank Kyle for his time, and we want to thank you listeners for joining us as always. Really appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you next time.